It's Sunday night. It's Blast Under Stash It time. Coast to coast, West Coast to East Coast. We're talking about comics tonight. And this is the first time catching the show. What we do is we buy the new books that come out the week, and we give them a read, and we talk about them on this show. We blast the ones we hate. We stash the ones we like. If you like what you see, you want to follow us, you want to help us out, you can support us financially by going over and picking up a cool T-shirt, a Blast Under Stash It T-shirt. You can get the Thunderlust. You can get Technical Difficulties. You can even get the Drew's Wrong About X-Men. Tell me why. Change my mind. That's what it is. Change my mind. Or you can go over to Patreon and support us over there as well, where we do a Book of the Month club, where we give stuff away like this nice Greg Horn cover, or this month was the Shannon Mayer X-Men #3. So that's $1 a month to get you one entry into that contest. So go check us out over there. And if you can't do it financially, a thumbs up, a share, a like, all that fun stuff is definitely appreciated. And we'll go ahead and jump into. Oh, there's a live viewer comment show up on StreamYard. Example, click on. Oh, wow. Apparently, we don't have any comments yet. I clicked on that and said, add it to the screen. I don't want the screen. Okay, fine, whatever. All right, we'll jump into the books this week. Joe, you want to start it off with something spicy?
Oh, yeah, let's do something spicy. So let's talk about some ultimate garbage. All right. Here's the problem with writers and comic books. They tend to forget that there's a group of people out there, that, although we are a small group. What's up, man? Go bed. They tend to forget that there's a lot of us. So they go back and they read a bunch of comic books and then do their, accurate research of characters and stuff like that, I'm sure. And then they just end up telling us the same story over again. Yes, I am talking about Spiderverse. It's the same story. Give me a break already. In this one, we find out this. Look, y'all can try saying it. I say it's Spider. People have been pronouncing it differently. Whatever. It's a mech suit with a tiny Asian girl in it. And Uncle Ben, in this case, is some sort of scientist. In this one, since we're in an alternate reality to some sort, we kind of mix things up. What the cool thing is what they did with Sinister in it, Mr. Sinister. They called him Sinister X. He's part of a Weapon X or Weapon X style program. We'll call it that. They kind of play off of the different words and verbiage and stuff. Like the only thing cool that happened in this was Kraven in it, and I really liked Kraven and Miles Morales fighting in this. Other than that, yes, he's just jumping through universes again because words, the same thing that has happened a dozen times already. So I'm definitely putting this on blast, but I am going to go ahead and pick up the other issues of this because these are always good for first weird appearances that nobody ever really cares about. They'll randomly come back in some way, shape, or form, so it will look good at an auction. Other than that, I have no need for this book in my life. Real quick, Mangabed is our 717 is in the room. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for swinging by. Samuel David just swung in saying hello, everybody. What's up, brother? How you doing? But what do you got there, Dave? You got a book?
I got a few books. I got a Spider-Man book I'll blast too. Now that girl from the tech suit, that's the same girl that's. And now I don't know a whole lot about Miles Morales and that ultimate universe. The alternate universe is the same girl from the movie that has that. No, different one, huh?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's so hard to keep track of now because it's infinite.
Yes, infinite characters. 2099 Spider-Man. I don't know a whole lot about Miguel. I forgot his last name for Spider-Man. This one, all these 2099s are talking about the Ravage lands or Ravage. So that's all a connecting thing. They're all talking about these social points, which I thought it was just limited to the Punisher book, but I guess it's in here too. And I don't remember the social points at all from the 2099 from the 90s. I don't know if that's something new. It wasn't. So, really, social media wasn't really around in early 90s. So I guess that would make sense. Miguel's going through a whole lot of PTSD in this thing. It's what it seems like. He's waking up. He's groggy. His AI is talking to him. He doesn't want. He's avoiding his friends, avoiding his people who care about him because he doesn't want to talk to him. Just doesn't want to talk to anybody. And he ends up catching up with I guess it's his boss from this tech company. You can always tell he's going to be a bad guy when he has a beard like that. That's instant douchebag.
Classic bad guy beard.
Classic bad guy beard. He's wanting him to do stuff that Miguel's like, no, it's just not. It goes against what he wants. But they have this tech, I guess, that's able to essentially suck your social points out as well as like make a clone of you, so you can end up looking like the other person. I'm trying to find a page here. But Miguel and his brother are fighting in this thing here. Where is it?
So they're basically working society off some sort of social credit system, kind of like what China's adopted.
Yeah, definitely. I can't find the freaking page where they put this little skull on him. Essentially, oh, there it is, right there. And they take like this guy in a bar ends up putting a skull on him and sucking social points and, like I said, his face and everything out, so he can go out and essentially live like him and use his social points. I don't know. The 2099 stuff is just confusing, and maybe it's all going to kind of come together. I don't know, but I don't like the one-shot shit before it goes into the main. Like this follows up in Omega. I think it says, yeah, I think it's Omega 2099 Omega, and I'm like, come on, man, we don't need any more of these freaking event books. We got too many as it is already. So this is a blast. I was hoping it'd be good. I was trying to limit myself on the 2099 books. This is garbage as far as I'm concerned, especially paying $5 for it.
Ugh. Let's see here. Let's go to DC. Let's get some good DC. Also, in the room, if y'all have anything you want us to review that came out this week, if we have it, we're happy to do it. Or if you have opinions about the books that we read, maybe you thought it was good, maybe we're missing something, definitely let us know. We're totally cool with that.
You can say, hey, Huey, you're a moron. You didn't read that right.
Yeah, right.
Clearly.
Let's talk about this. The book that nobody asked for, and I don't think anybody really participated in. Harley Quinn's Villain of the Year. Yes, just like our famous show, The Stashies. Apparently, the evildoers in the DC universe have their own award show of who the best villain is with different categories. In this, we bring back a very long and ancient villain known as the Flamingo. Flamingo never really talked in comics, and we found out why in this. Apparently, he's bitter and jealous that he never got picked as one of the awardees or even a nominee for a lot of the various reasons why they give out awards. Like there's one for bird-themed villain or villain of the year, of course, and then sidekick, coolest mask. He's never gotten it. And he's bitter and angry, and he's talking on stage. He wants to blow up the show. Apparently, Lex Luthor, Apex Luthor, and Harley Quinn are on the hunt to find out who it is. And she finds herself completely fascinated with the stationery that a note was written on that had the threat to blow everything up. Yeah, typical villain. I'm giving up my plans. So she finds out through the note when she adds a little heat to it that there's a watermark and it's a flamingo. Guess who that is? So they catch him, they lock him up and throw him away. And apparently the viewers or readers have voted the Batman Who Laughs as the villain of the year because it was a people's vote type of thing that happened in here. Okay, great. Thank you for the great story. You could have came up with something a little bit better, but it was kind of cool to see all the villains in the background during the entire award show while this thing was going on and complimenting each other. It was pretty good. I think you're telling us way too much about this book. Laugh out loud. I think so too, but that's the whole point of this show, is to absolutely spoil these books 100%.
Yeah, so thinking of spoilers, I'm going to do a DC book too. This is actually pretty good. It's Batman Curse of the White Knight. We find out in this book that the Waynes aren't the wholesome people we think they are, and it's kind of like, okay, now I understand why Azrael's kind of pissed off over what the Waynes had did to his family. Yeah, so we find out that freaking not Edmund Wayne essentially floods this city to kick all the people out, and so he can create a new coastline for this port. So that's how they made their millions. It was like, dude, what a douchebag, you know. So again, that's why Azrael's pissed off that at the Wayne family, and he's trying to get his essentially family name back. And we find out that backstory there. We get Harley and the kids going to talk to Joker, trying to get I can't think of the real Joker out. What's his name?
Napier.
Napier, thank you. Napier out to try to figure out what's going on, why Azrael's doing this stuff. And Harley's able to get him out some, but he's still on that teetering edge of Joker and Napier. So we get a little bit more of that backstory, and we get freaking Azrael going through Arkham and dispatching quite a few villains. He's taking Two-Face, he's splitting him right down the middle with the sword, essentially. So, but this is good stuff. And then Joker's Joker, and he's talking to Azrael, saying, "You clear out competition to see how'd you get in here." And we find out essentially he has like a Batman costume. And he got right past the guards, or he killed the guards and never really did say. He just says he walked right past. But yeah, this is still continuing to be pretty damn good. I like the whole big backstory of the Waynes, how they came over, and their backstory with Azrael's family, to the Dumas.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. That's the name of the Saint Dumas organization, the cult.
What's Azrael's family's name?
Whatever his last name is, I don't know.
I don't remember either. But this is definitely this is definitely a stash, though. It's still continuing to be good. So yeah, what'd you think of Batman: Curse of the White Knight?
Man, I enjoy this so much. I don't really care much for the Harley Quinn and Jack Napier stuff going on. I'm like, I could do without that. But there's so much other things that are going on in this book that is so good. Yeah, the backstory, finding out that, okay, there's some suspicion. We don't know for sure if Edmund actually flooded this town or not, but we know he's being found. That's the way it's perceived. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that's going to come out to be a more cleaner story. I like the whole backstory that they told about Azrael and his whole group of soldiers. That I thought that was cool. They kind of went through them in their little profile pics, if you will. And I love the battle with Bane. The little lawyer lady's had enough of Azrael. And so she's like, all right, Bane, I need you to break this guy. So we get that classic thing where Bane's about to break somebody's back, and he's doing the I must break you. But he gets stabbed in the back of the neck, and they chop his head off. I was like, yeah, I'm really kind of liking this because I'm so tired of the breaking of the bat thing. Oh, yeah, the real Joker walking through, slicing and dicing everybody. I love it when the ventriloquist cuts his arm off where the little puppet is. That was awesome.
Who's that little girl he pins to the wall?
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. I don't know enough to talk about it. But yeah, this is just so good. And then he calls himself Batman at the end. I love the art in here too. It's so good. So yeah, this is a hard stash for me. Great reading. If you're a comic book reader, this is definitely where you should be reading. This is good stuff.
Don't they talk about too how the sword gets flames?
Yeah, they strap it down to the lawyer lady to get information from her.
Yeah, and they put the candle on there.
Polyfoam fuel thing that lights up, and yeah, they put the candle on top of her and they light. Oh, that was epic. I was like, oh, that's so good.
Okay, that was my book. You're up with yours, Joe.
I don't want to do back-to-back Batman, so let me find something to stash. Let's see here. Oh, you read Punisher, didn't you?
Yeah, Punisher.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so when we first read this book, it was kind of hard to tell who the guy with the AK-47 was, and we thought it was the detective at the beginning of the story. We'll come find out it's not. He's an old-school Russian soldier from the Afghanistan wars, where Russia and Afghanistan were going at it. That was cool, refreshing, because that's a little space of time that people tend to forget about. I like the fact that they're bonding, but you can kind of see through Punisher's thinking process. He starts recognizing all the soldiering things about him, and he's like, okay, I'm kind of liking this guy. And he also finds out he's slightly insane, like the Punisher is. Right? A lot of gore in here. I think it's a good team up. It's a good mesh up with a first-time character that has no superpowers, just raw grit like the Punisher has. I love the banter going back and forth. I love now that I know the guy's Russian, I can't get a Russian accent out of my head with him. Like it's like this fits. I like the fact that whoever did their research on this comic book is great, because Punisher mentions that he uses the AK-47 correctly on 7-round blast.
Mhm.
That's actually how you should be shooting when you want to aim an AK-47, right? 7 rounds at a time, 7 rounds at a time. I thought that was really cool. I was like, holy crap, somebody actually knows something. Um, and I love the whole premise of this story. This is just good war reading. It's like picking up an old war comic and reading it. I absolutely enjoy this. This is great. Pick it up. You won't be let down. 1 and 2 is great. Hurry up before Netflix grabs a deal on this.
What I like about it is, you've seen Punisher team up before, but it's not very often, and it's usually not very fluid. It's pretty clunky, and it is not. And I felt like it's a little more fluid in here. The part when they're in that bar, I think is what it is, and the guys come in, and they're almost like on the same page. Like Punisher chucks him a grenade to chuck over, and they're moving like a well-oiled team, but Punisher does acknowledge this guy's military history, but I think he's a little wary of him, and I'm wondering if they're going to end up being enemies toward the end of this run. One thing I didn't know, I had to look it up. I've seen this connection in multiple different pop culture things. So I'm looking at the Russians. He's talking about the backstory of being in Afghanistan with his team, right? And they're all wearing those striped shirts. And I'm like, what the hell, dude? I've seen that somewhere else. And I watched the Punisher with Thomas Jane with the Russian. I'm like, he's wearing a striped shirt. There's a Russian character in Call of Duty he's wearing. What the hell? So I actually looked it up, and I guess that's like the Russian undershirt.
Yeah.
And I had no clue to what that was. And I found out there were different colors for different military. So like the Navy and like essentially the Green Berets, or I don't know what they're called for the Russians, Spetsnaz.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. Actually, I went outside the comic book and like, okay, let's find out more about this. Mm-hmm. And like you said, comics make you smarter.
Can make you smarter every day. Also, real quick in the room, Wise Guy 82 comics and cards. Thanks for being in the room. Also, Double S says, "What up, Huey and Joey?" Double thumbs up and the weird symbol.
The okay.
Caffeinate Comics just jumped into. He wants to know what's going on with everybody.
Or is that the universal symbol for asshole? I don't remember what it is. But
take your pick.
but Punisher Soviet is good. It definitely like it. I like the buddy kind of cop aspect of it too. Mm-hmm. I think they both have a lot of respect for each other for their military background. I think that plays into it as well. Let's talk about. I guess we'll talk about this one. It's an indie book about IDW. Dying is Easy. This is issue number 1. My issue got apparently sliced with a razor knife when I opened the box. Apparently, it was at the very top of the box when it got opened at the comic store. So I got a nice razor knife through half the book. So this book here basically is I don't know if he's a retired cop, but he used to be a comedian, and he's not very good at all. He's on the stage, handful of people in the audience, and he's kind of bombing. And he gets off the stage, and this one little jerk, he goes, you know what's great about following you? I can kill because they're already half dead because you just bored them to death. And we come to find out basically that little snot-nosed guy that went up on the stage after him has been kind of stealing jokes from a lot of other people. And this guy who used to be a cop is not really having it, and he ended up confronting the guy outside and just beating him up a little bit, nothing like too serious. I think just punched him in the mouth a few times and just to prove a point saying, hey, Lee, quit doing your shit. But we find out later on that that guy ends up dead. And so now they're thinking that guy, that's ex-cop, who's now the horrible stand-up comedian, as the prime suspect of this joke-stealing comedian. Maybe it's Carlos Mencia. I don't know.
So humor.
This was good. It wasn't nothing super special about it. Interesting, there are I don't know if you ever listen to Bob and Tom or if they're available in your area.
Yeah,
they have they have a guy on there. It's quite a bit. He was an ex-police officer. He gets on there, guest once in a while, and he's pretty damn funny. I mean, I think if you're a cop, you have a certain sense of humor. Anything like that, you have a certain sense of humor that not necessarily anybody else gets. Just like, say, in the military as well. You get your own little sense of, what's funny, what's not, and where people go, what the hell are you talking about?
I have to be very careful with my joke telling because at the American Legion, I could be slaying it. And then when I'm in a business suit and with a bunch of executives, they may not get the same jokes. So I have to
I do the same thing. Caffeinate Comics said IDW's business is what's dying. IDW, they don't have a whole lot of great books.
No,
very far few between. Did you read Dying is Easy?
Well, yes, I did. Would you like to know my thoughts?
Yes, I would like to know what you thought of it.
It's not a comic book. I'm sorry.
Or is it a script?
I don't know if it's a script either. It makes a good mystery book. I'll give it that. But it's not, well, I say the first issue, not a comic book. We'll put it that way for right now because we don't know what's going to happen. This thing could go horror, whatever direction it wants to go into. This cover implies that other things are about to happen in the shadow. Right? There's some identifying symbology there. What I liked most about this is when he was up on the stage telling his jokes, he wasn't very funny. But I thought he was hilarious when he was just talking to his friends.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like when he's supposed to be funny, he was kind of just, it was dying, right? And then all of a sudden, like he's got this great sense, even when he's beating the crap out of the guy, right? He's kind of that satirical kind of humor coming out of him. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was more interesting than what he was doing up on stage. I'm going to pick more of this up. I do like these comic books. Like, what was it? That one I read about the rock stars earlier this year.
Oh, Gunning for Hits?
Yeah, when I read that, I liked that entire series. I thought it was good. Not very memorable, but I enjoyed getting it, every other week and reading it. I see this as being that kind of thing. And honestly, when you read so many comic books, you kind of start predicting things. Throwing something like this in the middle of it all does kind of break up that monopoly. Not every book starts sounding the same. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm going to stash it. But again, I don't see it as a comic book in its traditional sense. It's a good storytelling. I'll give it that.
Yeah, this is written by Joe Hill,
which
is he's doing a lot of that stuff for the DC. He's doing the basket full of heads.
Yeah,
for DC.
Yeah, those kind of weird stories. Yeah.
That's what I think of too. I think of the Joker, of course. I mean, that's right in the forefront. That's right in the mainstream where it talks about, essentially some guy getting up there and trying to be a comedian, and it's just fails completely. Dying is easy. So is cutting my book with the eraser knife when you're opening it.
Caffeinated Comics says their Sonic the Hedgehog book is actually solid. IDW Sonic the Hedgehog. I've been thinking about picking that up. I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out, see if I can't find it.
I'm not a big Sonic fan, so.
Yeah.
Okay, you're up with yours.
I say, isn't Sonic the Hedgehog basically just a Flash story? Isn't it?
Yeah. Collecting rings.
Did you read Morbius?
No.
I'll spoil it for you.
Remember when we were talking about it in the off air, I was like, oh, damn, that came out because the first one was decent.
Yes. So they kept the decency going. This is actually turning into a pretty decent story. I had some unusual notes on it, too. Some things I just kind of noticed from it. There's a lot of insight here on science and how science works. Morbius is talking to himself about that and how he took shortcuts and now he's paying the price of those shortcuts. So he's already this vampire thing, right? And to make it worse, he rushes through some process to find a cure, and it turns out it mutates him even worse now, right? Like he's just bloodthirsty, the hunger, and plus it morphs him and makes him even look even worse. So I thought that was interesting. A lot of insight on that kind of stuff. I like this idea of vampires overall that can't control their hunger, right? Because it kind of talks about a lot of people and how they can't control their emotions, right? You got to keep feeding the anger. You heard that term. You start doing that, but you see that from the antagonist, which is Elizabeth in this. She can't control her anger and all this other stuff. She's constantly going after him because she thinks he's guilty of something, which he very well may be. But regardless, how long do you have? Shouldn't there be a time of like, okay, it's been 20 years and you haven't been punished, and I think it's done. So I found that to be very, very interesting. I'm really probably looking too much into this, but I'm enjoying the story overall. I think, and at the end of this one, we got Spider-Man who shows up, which is a classic team up there. I just hope it's not the same story that we've seen with Morbius and Spider-Man in the past. I want something new and refreshing out of this. They could be best friends. They could be worst enemies. I don't care. Just give me something different. Gore just stopped in the room. He says, Garth Ennis is well-versed in Cold War history. Yes, he is. Yes. His Punisher, Nick Fury books incorporate actual history into the stories. This is the Punisher I like. No superheroes, no humor. Like Jason Bourne. I would have to say there is some humor in it, but again, it's that military humor we were just kind of talking about. You kind of laugh at the inappropriateness of things. It's humor to these guys. I think some of that's in there, which I think is fun, but definitely Garth Ennis does know a lot about the Cold War. He is a student of it. There's no doubt about that.
So a question for Gore, and maybe I brought it up before. If you like Garth Ennis, did you read the Punisher Vietnam that came out a year and a half ago, 2 years ago? There's like six issue miniseries on that too. That was pretty good as well. Again, you talk about like that humor. That's the other people, and maybe like me with humor. I use that to cope with a lot of things. If I'm in a stressful situation or uncomfortable, I use humor in order to make myself feel comfortable. And that's kind of the same thing. With like people who deal with a whole bunch of horrific things, sometimes you can cope in different ways. Some people cope maybe drinking or whatever. Some people use humor. That's not necessarily the best way to do it. And I've got myself in trouble a couple times using humor, but I'm not going to go into that. Yeah. Let's talk about Goon. Let's talk about Goon. You didn't pick up Goon this
I did, and I read it more than 30 minutes ago, so it's still fresh in my head.
Fresh in your head. So in this issue here, we still have the new gorilla villain. I forgot his name.
Dapper, like Dapper Dan, man.
Dapper Dan. So at the first of the book, we have this little baby, and everybody's going. We have a little guy with a monkey grinder at first. He's a monkey organ grinder, not monkey grinder. A monkey with an organ grinder. He's over there trying to get money, but everybody's focused on this little baby, and he's not making any money. And he's really pissed off. And everybody's like, "Oh, what a cutie! Oh my God, he's so cute." So he gets confronted by Dapper in order to essentially take out Goon. What they do is they trap Goon in this basement, park a truck on top of the door so he can't bust open the door, and the organ grinder dude, he gets a plastic surgery and steals this cute baby. So everybody thinks that Goon has kidnapped this baby, and when he finally gets out of the basement, everybody's chasing him down until Goon catches up with the guy and ends up punching the plastic surgery nose right off him, and essentially telling everybody he wasn't the one that did it. But we're finally going to get a confrontation between Dapper Dan and the Goon toward the end of it. I love how Goon's dressed up in that old lady's dress, but they're like, "Hey, wait a minute, you're not an old lady." See, I don't think Eric Powell is doing the art on this anymore, and this is Brett Parson. Again, too, I talked about it before. Brett Parson could do a very, very good Eric Powell. You can't hardly tell the difference between Eric Powell and this guy here. So this is still good. It still has that Depression era kind of feel to it. Hey, Bob, still has all that.
Hey, just give me the straight shoot on that skinny.
Yeah, so the Goon's still continuing to be a stash for me.
Yeah, how can you not like Goon? Like, just the dialogue in it alone is enough to keep you reading it. And then just the ridiculous situations of the story. I love the fact that, and The only thing with Goon, if I had a criticism of it, is that their timing on getting these issues out is very unstable. Like this should have been out last month.
Yeah.
Right, because we didn't have one last month, and even the advertisements in it are all for stuff in November.
Yeah.
So there's some issues there with getting this out on time, and Goon's not a high priority comic book to get out, right? It's they got other ones, but whatever the case may be, I like this. I like this one for its simplistic storytelling. I love the cartooniness of the frame up. I love the fact that it's the mortuary guy that did all the plastic surgery. So everything kind of well connected. I didn't know one of the kids was a werewolf.
I don't remember. I have to look back through that.
Yeah, the kid chewing off the finger so they could pick the lock. Yeah, that happened.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, the guy on the steamboat taught me how to pick a lock using finger bones. He was a worldly man. I was like, God. Just some of the ridiculousness in here is just fun, ridiculous stuff. It's not your basic comic book superhero story by no means, but that does not make it bad. It makes it, I don't know, just fantastic. They built a great world around it.
I think everybody wants to be Goon too. I mean, look, he's just a I don't know, if take no shit kind of guy, but I mean, would you call him stoic?
Would I call him stoned?
Stoic.
Yeah, but in a villain sense. Remember, stoic doesn't necessarily mean good or bad.
No, I know that. Yeah.
Because he does racketeering in the area for protection money. So he's not a good guy per se. But yeah, I would call him stoic.
He's kind of
right. I know the reference you're going there. Yeah, when the kid kind of says, "You don't have his stoic dapper." Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot. Comic says, "Not Baby Yoda equals not interested."
So I'm assuming he is watching Mandalorian. Have you watched all Mandalorian, Joe?
Nah.
Or any of it? No.
I haven't had any time to watch TV. I got a lot of comic books to read.
It's for me, it's steadily getting. I don't want to say it's worse, but the first 2 episodes were awesome, and it's slowly kind of like, okay, this is getting really predictable.
Normal, since we're talking about television. If you have Netflix, y'all need to write this down. You need to watch 6 Underground.
I watched it. I stayed up till 2:00 in the morning and watched it the other day.
The first 10 minutes of that movie will make your sphincter clench the entire time. My wife, the body's flying around. Ryan Reynolds being a little bit more edgier than normal in this.
Yeah.
But still, stupid good. I'm surprised Netflix has come out with something like that. That is just awesome. Going back to the chat real quick. Man Gabed says, Goon is a lot of fun. Yeah, it is. Caffeinated Comics episode 5 is meh. 6 was great.
Yeah, the Underground 6 or 6 Underground.
So good.
I thought it was good release in theaters. I click on Netflix at night. I'm just kind of so late at night, and I'm like, okay, let's see what's on. Holy crap, this is on Netflix? Okay, cool, I'm gonna watch it. So I had to stay up till 2:00 in the morning watching it.
Worth it.
What's it? I brought up Goon. It's your next book.
Fine, blame it on me.
Yep.
You read Immortal Hulk?
I did.
Okay. Let's talk about how we're going to blast this one.
Yes, please.
Immortal Hulk. I'm not going to blast it. I'm actually going to stash it. I like the ridiculousness of this. I thought it was great. So you got a bunch of people that want to be socially aware and socially correct. So what do? They write, they protest. Therefore, they have to buy a mask that's ultimately being made by the people that they're protesting, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it. And you don't realize this until the very end of the story, because it's one of those things where it's kind of playing with time a little bit, going back and forth. Mm-hmm. I thought that was great. Absolutely ingenious. And then the big reveal at the end. I know that's a Hulk, as they call it, but I cannot remember the name of that Hulk. He's been around forever. Man, I wanted to look it up before the show came on, but I got tied up with some stuff. Him and the Hulk had fought before. I think I'm almost positive I have his first appearance, but I don't know.
Is that the like the original Hulk from the Marvel before Hulk was Hulk?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say yes or no just yet because I'm not 100% sure. But I do like to get on with this. I kind of like I like the security guard in it. I think a lot of middle-aged people can kind of relate to that guy. Uh, I did not like the art in this one.
Yeah, the art has changed.
Everything with the Minotaur and then that kind of sketchy type art. I don't like that. I did like the fact that the Hulk showed up in it. I thought that was cool. It's always good to have a Hulk story where he shows up in it. More especially, I like the attitude of the Minotaur in this. Um, you kind of learn as you go with him, right? Like at one point, he gets mad at the guy because he doesn't need a yes man, and then when the guy does disagree with him, he crushes his head and says, "You just need to do it respectfully, Slick." Like I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So yeah, so yeah, I can see, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, they're getting all social justice warrior, blah blah blah, politics, comic books, blah blah blah," and then the arguments go back and forth on it. I don't really care about that stuff. That's all rhetoric. I don't care. Tell me a good story, make it interesting, and then make it intriguing. And the best way to do that is make the good guy the reason the bad guys are able to get away with what they do. Like that was awesome.
Yeah, I definitely noticed. I didn't look at the artist on the book, but I definitely noticed that it changed from last issue to this issue. And maybe because the original artist couldn't keep up, or maybe he's just totally off the book altogether. I don't know. And we'll find out more later. But yeah, a lot of this revolves around that security guard, that story, and then the Minotaur. He talks about how his kid is stuck on the phone constantly. It's like he can't even talk to her because she's so focused on the phone, and she gives him that little look out of the corner of her eye, kind of like you're old, or my son calls me boomer now. You're a boomer. You don't understand.
You're not a boomer, right? You're a Gen Xer.
Yeah. We were trying to explain that to him. Then that he's like, no, a boomer means anybody who's older than we are. Like, no,
it does not mean that.
So a lot of kids are calling high school or calling, middle-aged people boomers because they don't want to get in with the time. They're not technologically or socially aware or whatever.
They forget who built all that stuff.
Yep. So he kind of, like I said, relatable with that security guard. We all relate to, having our kids super young and being there with them all the time and enjoying that time. I would say even with my 11-year-old daughter, it's like when she was real little, we watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse up together and cuddle on the couch, and now she won't have talked to me. I'm like, what the hell happened? So that's all relatable for a middle-aged guy. We do find out, too, that his daughter is actually one of the protesters at that facility where he is, too.
Yeah.
I did love the part we talked about already when he's like, don't be afraid to question me, and then the guy questioned him and he gets killed. Yeah. That's damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing.
Be respectful when you do it, I guess.
I guess. Was he disrespectful?
Gordon,
because don't mud wrestle with the bull. You both get dirty, and the bull likes it, and it's actually a pig. So, yeah, it was okay, but I don't see how it's tying into the movie. That one issue that was like super, super aware of itself, where Hulk was gonna change the world, kind of thing.
He's starting to.
I guess that's where it's tying in, but it doesn't feel as that issue felt super political. These past couple haven't. So I don't know. Maybe they're being a little more subtle with it. But yeah, I'll continue to stash this book too. So that's good. Anybody else in the chat? No, last thing we had was the Caffeinate comics. What's everybody else think of Immortal Hulk? They still on that Immortal Hulk train? Have you dropped off? What issue did you drop off on? Or are you looking forward to issue, what is it, 29? Wow. Can't believe it's going 29 already.
It's been a long run.
It has. Let's talk about, I think it was kind of like the hot book for the week. I think that's Red Mother #1. A lot of people were talking about it by Boom Studios. I was able to get. Let me see it. What is that? I don't have that one. What's that one?
It's a Red Mother cover.
I know, but which cover?
The one you're looking at. And I don't
Yeah.
know.
I got the one per store, and I got the 1 in 10.
Nice.
So I got those at cover price. So that's
Nice.
pretty.
Sure. This is the Virgin variant. I got this. It says 1B.
So it's probably just cover B on that.
I have not read this, so spoil it.
Spoil it. So I got a funny little thing to go along with this here. So we find out that this woman here and her boyfriend, they're leaving. Is it dinner or some pizza? No, pizza. That's right, because she talked about eating so much pizza, and he's wanting to go home and have sex, and she's like, "No, I'm full of pizza, but if you love me that way, fine." You know, they plan on going home and doing the brown chicken, brown cow, and
sounds so bad.
As they're walking, they hear this screaming and stuff down this dark corridor, and all of a sudden her boyfriend just goes, "Oh yes, mother, and he disappears in the corridor, and all of a sudden she gets her right eye scratched out and ripped out, and then it all just kind of goes dark, and then she wakes up in the hospital with a bandage on the eye, trying to figure out what's going on. She doesn't really know. There's a law enforcement there trying to question her. She's kind of a suspect in the whole thing because she survived, but yet she's injured. She ends up getting a prosthetic eye. There's the doctor there, trying to put the eye in, talking to her about how, okay, it's going to irritate, blah, 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 the prosthetic. I could not help that doctor here. I'm going to pop it up here. Under brand. Yes. He reminds me of this guy right here from Toy Story. He looks like the same dude that's cleaning up Woody's eye right there in Toy Story. And that's the first thing I thought about. I was like, well, that's the cleaner guy. He's here in Red Mother. So what I don't understand about prosthetics, I don't have prosthetic eye, but as far as I knew, if you got a prosthetic, that eye does not move when you move your other eye. Is that correct?
I don't think that's 100% true.
Okay, is there still muscles in there that potentially could move it?
I think so. I had a friend with a glass eye, and I never asked him, but I did notice that sometimes it would move. Like if he moved one eye, it would kind of faintly. It looked more like a lazy eye.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, Also, real quick, Samuel David said he's still reading Immortal Hulk. He loves it, but he's got to go. He has a test tomorrow. Definitely good luck on your test, David. Samuel David, thanks for swinging by.
Hope it's something easy, not something super hard.
Yeah.
He's been here listening to us, and he's going to be thinking about comic books during his test.
Or if a prosthetic eye moves the other one.
What were they talking about last night? Oh, shit, I got to worry about this test. What is the theory on... but this main character, yeah, she's kind of avoiding her friends because of the whole trauma she's going to. She's seeing this psychologist trying to work things out, but she's ended up getting visions and stuff from this eye, essentially. So of this red mother, everything kind of goes red, and at the end of the book, you see a character walking through the crowd, essentially almost attacking her, but it's not there. So we're going to find out more next issue. Who this red mother is, maybe, and if it's actually going to cause her harm or other people harm in her life. Interesting. Definitely like a typical Netflix kind of horror kind of show,
I like how everything relates to Netflix now.
It didn't say Netflix on the back, but yeah, it was interesting. It's a horror book. So Red Mother #1 is a stash.
It's a stash, he says. All right, that means I got to read it. All right, we're at, 44 minutes?
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it yet. I know everybody's on pins and needles. Should we talk about it now?
Let me see what you're talking about. Well, same time?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So this book is strong of some controversy. Rather, it's the one cover where China banned it. I don't know when we started caring about what China thinks about things, but whatever. Um, or if it's the obvious Trump, downsizing in it, or the activation or activate. What do you call it? The protesting in it. We'll say that. I don't know. Everybody thinks this is a controversial book. The problem is that I don't think most people understand the writer very well, and I don't mean that as an insult or to wound anybody's feelings. But Frank Miller doesn't like politicians. Period. It doesn't matter who the politician is. He's not a fan of politicians to begin with. So I don't think this was like just a stab. This is just my naive opinion on it. I don't think all the Joker stuff in there and Dark Side. I did not like this book for very different reasons. One, the whole Dark Side story, doing some kooky, crazy plan, and then getting all serious later in the book. He did your typical Joker Penguin scheme with the Joker, some ridiculousness like rigging an election or something he shouldn't even care about, to all of a sudden getting God powers and fighting on this momentous scale of epic warrior stuff, right? Like he's known for. I didn't really like it. I don't think it transitioned very well. I hate the art in it. Everybody's got weird legs. I don't know why I couldn't get like Batgirl in this has just the craziest, weirdest legs. They just look weird. I really hate this version of Superman and Wonder Woman's daughter. I know she's been in comic books before in these kind of offshoot stories. I don't like her. I think she's snotty and arrogant, and it comes off bad. The kid that looks like a pop doll.
He does, doesn't he? I didn't think about that. Yeah, you got like a Funko.
Like, I don't know who let the kid from the Down syndrome show like fly around with superpowers. This is annoying.
You say he's quirky?
Yeah, they're freaking out quirky. It's like you got two different stories here, right? You had the kind of whimsical, kind of poking fun at the president, doing something silly, and then you tried to make this very serious narrative about humanity breaking down and breaking itself and fixing itself just to combat it. Just way over the top narrative. Also, if you have to repeat yourself when you speak or write something, you're not doing it right. You're not clear. And I hate it when people try to do that with passion, because it to me it just sounds arrogant and small-mindedness. You see what I did there? That sounds stupid. Why would you do that? I hate it when people do that. I think that's just ridiculous. And that mostly becomes if you took a public speaking class like back in the 80s when they first started doing that kind of stuff, like that was the thing to do to add more emphasis and emotion on things. But that's not the case anymore. We don't need that anymore. People want their information shorter, faster, bite size. Hence YouTube shows like this, where we review lots of comic books in a relatively short amount of time. So, God.
Again.
So I think all in all, I think I can see how a lot of people want to stick by Frank Miller on this because he is a good writer. I'm not saying anything against Frank Miller as a writer, but even the best batters out there get a strike. And I think this is a strike. And this is a blast for me. I'm just not into this.
Well, he's had a couple strikes, as far as I'm concerned, with the Superman book that came out.
I forgot that he wrote that. Yeah.
You talk about Frank Miller, how it's almost two different stories. I think he's kind of known for that too. If you look at Dark Knight, same thing. You have the Batman versus Superman aspect of it, and then you have the aspect of him fighting the mutants at the first part of that book. So it's almost like it's almost two different stories. Why not separate those out and have two different stories of Dark Knight? Same thing with Superman Returns, or not? Superman Returns, is that what it was?
Yeah,
where he has a younger version
of
Clark Kent, but then it's almost like an Aquaman story. What the hell? I think he guys kind of continued that thing on through here. I unfortunately did not get past that whole like them rigging Trump's election. The Joker. I unfortunately I groaned too much just because of the whole aspect of they claim everybody's interfering with everybody's election, and this just seemed too political for me. And I'm like, oh God, okay. So I end up stopping at that portion of it. I did flip through the rest of the book. I did see Greta, this Sweden girl, who's destroying our lives. That girl.
I'm surprised. No, I haven't seen any other comic book show brought that. I brought it up in mine, and my review came out late. But I saw her in there, and I was like, no, that's not her. And that was just came out right about the same time Person of the Year did. And we get Time at work, and I glanced real quick, and I was like, oh my God, he put her in there. Yep. It's horrible.
And it seemed very, Antifa-esque, the protests and stuff like that. Yeah. But although you're talking about with China too, so they're over to protesting things. They don't want communism. They want capitalism, essentially.
They've always wanted, yeah.
And we kind of have the opposite over here, which is crazy to me. So I guess you could go either way. I mean, it's all about essentially society stepping up and disagreeing with whatever their government's doing.
It's always about having what you don't have.
And, I agree with that 100%. With my views is you don't like something, fine. Voice your opinion about it. That's what's great about freedom of speech.
Uh-huh.
So
real quick, the room has been moving. Hopefully,
sorry,
banding us so far. Let's see what we got here. Gore, I haven't seen Mandalorian, but like to wind up friends who love it by telling them they've already seen Shane and the
Sergio
Leone trilogy with Clint Eastwood. That's funny. I get where you're going with that. I don't need to see it with droids. He's talking about spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
Let's see, Caffeinate Comics, 150 characters. I think that's in reference to a previous comment. Caffeinate Comics had to step away. Are we talking about the garbage of our Golden Child book? We have been talking about the Golden Child book, yes. And so far, I think it's a blast for both of us.
Definitely, yeah.
But for different reasons, but nevertheless, it covers the gambit. I'd rather reread All-Star Batman and Robin 10 times in a row. At least that book is visually stunning.
Is that the one where Batman forces Robin to eat rats or something? I think that.
Oh, I bet you there's so much Batman out there, but I believe that's it. Let us know there, Caffeinated Comics.
Yeah, because I think Frank Miller did that run. I think it was, and it kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, dude, you're really pushing it far out there.
He says, yeah.
You said, yeah?
Yep. Okay. I thought it was.
I got 3 more books. Let's see here. Did you read? Let's try to find something else we read together. And it doesn't look like anything else. No. Nope. Nope and nope.
Well, you didn't get something killing the kids. I'm surprised you didn't get something killing the kids.
I didn't read that book. I have not. Let's talk about X-Force number 3. This is still continuing to be good. So at the end of the last issue here, not Batman, oh my God. Wolverine and Kid Omega ended up rescuing Domino from that liquid chamber that she's in because the people have been slicing her off and using her to gain access to Nikrokea. And we find out that actually they're trying to do some testing on it to essentially catch up to the mutants, to have like superhuman humans to be able to fight against the mutants. We get a resurrected Xavier in here because he got killed in the first issue, so he's back. This has got some great art in here as well. I mean, we've got the rebirth of, like I said, Xavier. We got the one character that did survive that initial attack on X-Force that killed Xavier. He's still kind of alive a little bit, and they're trying to keep him alive because they're trying to question him, because really they don't know what's going on, what they found out. So they got Wolverine and Kid Omega out. They're finding, Domino and what their plans are, but yet people on Nikrokea are still kind of like in limbo on why this happened or who did this. But we find out that Since that guy's there on his deathbed, they're kind of trying to keep him alive because he has the questions or the answers for those questions. There's a hand that covers his face and actually kills him, so they're not able to get any answers from him. We don't know who that is because it's a pretty shadowed figure. But yeah, Xavier comes back and he's like, "Well, wait a minute, I can talk for myself." He's talking to the people again, and he's kind of keeping the public. He's not letting on that he was assassinated. He doesn't want to do that, but Xavier's getting a little. I don't know the word. He's been very passive. As in like, oh no, humans are good. They don't mean harm. They just don't understand. That's been Xavier's kind of stance. But here he's talking about I'll read this real quick. It says, "I was hoping we were beyond this, honestly, but they, whoever they are operating from the shadows. So we must respond in kind. You studied our enemy and determined they're trying to catch up with us, bioengineering themselves into weapons, using science to give them what nature won't, and you will follow their scent and spill their blood like hunters." This is Xavier saying this, which just seems kind of weird. But maybe he's a little glitchy. Maybe they didn't get back that Xavier they wanted, and he's a little glitch in the system. I don't know. But X-Force still is probably my favorite title coming out of the X-Men stuff. So that's good stuff. It's a stash.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
You're sorry to hear that.
I'm joking.
Go ahead. You're up with I guess probably your last book before we go to lightning round.
Well, let me talk about something I actually want to talk about.
Okay.
So, Fantastic Four number 17. If you haven't been reading this, I'm going to do the quickest synopsis of this that I can just to get you interested in this story, this particular arc. So, the Fantastic Four want to travel back into space, remaking the original rocket to try to get to a planet that they originally were looking to touch, right? The cosmic storm thing happens, gives them power, sends them back to Earth, right? So now you know how the Fantastic Four were made. So this catches us back up where they're trying to go do it again to succeed. They find out that apparently there's some sort of prophecy that the Four will return to take over their country or world. Come to find out, we find out this entire thing was a hoax. The main scientist here, his name is the Watcher, originally created the original storm that made the Fantastic Four, or harnessed it in that direction, because he was actually trying to give people on his planet superpowers, and the Fantastic Four just kind of got in the way. That was good. Like, I was like, oh, now you got me interested. You tied into something I already knew. All right, give me more. Well, come to find out, this little perfect society that they created, the utopia that they did, well, it does like all utopias do. It breeds tyranny, and it's nothing but tyranny. Anybody that didn't look the part of a superhero got sent to the low world, the ghettos, if you will, and the things down there with him, because he looks more like them than he does everybody else in this place. So they rise up. They're coming out to start a riot. In the meantime, Reed Richards and Miss Sue Storm are figuring out how all this stuff happened. And Johnny Blaze, because some computer says this is your perfect match, is apparently married to one of the good guys there. Right? So now they got that conflicted relationship of, do I help my family or my new wife? Because he actually does kind of like Chica. And apparently they got a little dirty. Go figure.
Brown chicken, brown cow?
Yeah, I'm not saying that. But anyway, this is actually turning into be a good story. And it's something, every time I read this, it just reminds me of Marcus Aurelius saying, that utopias breed tyranny, right? When everything's perfect, somebody gets jealous, right? Somebody wants to rule the perfectness of things. And by doing that, they ultimately ruin it. And seeing that actually happen in a comic book always makes me happy. I enjoy seeing that. I don't like seeing it in the real world, because that usually means bad things happen. But when you can actually see something like that happen in a simple format like this and explain it so easily, I like that. So this is definitely a stash for me. I'm going to pick up some more of this. Real quick, Gore says, I agree, Joe. The Miller doesn't like politicians. He skewers Reagan and Dark Knight, he did. And Dan Quayle and generic all smiles politicians as Antichrist and Electra assassin. Yeah, you're right. He did come out at one point and said that he did vote for Hillary Clinton. The only reason why, and again, why did he say that? I don't know. I'm sure he did. But as far as I've ever known, Miller's writing, he's always made politicians overall in his comic books look like just bad guys, that they were all just always the bad guy in a Frank Miller book.
Okay, so lightning round, I'll go into it. I only had a few other books that
Put it up, Speedy.
I think there's two other books that I didn't read. Doom 2099. It's one of those 2099 books. My favorite one so far has been Venom. This we have Dr. Doom going through the desert. He's getting dragged by these Neanderthal kind of people, and he ends up beating them down and building his armor and imagining that Reed Richards is there with him, saying that you always kind of destroy yourself. Why do you keep doing this? You know, I think it kind of ties in a little bit with Secret Wars that came out in 2015. But other than that, it's a blast. Undiscovered Country #2, we get one of the main guys. We find out maybe he's flipping to the bad side, or maybe he's already been part of the bad side all along in this. I'm not going to give away who that is because I think you haven't read this yet.
Halfway through it.
We got the Uncle Sam that I thought got blasted all to hell, but we find out it's a hologram. But the Uncle Sam character and the other characters that came into this United States need to work together to fulfill each other's goal, essentially. So they have to help each other out, even though they have a different outcome. They have to work together. I'll pick up issue 3 just to see where else is going. When you got shrimp with teeth, giant shrimp with teeth, I guess I gotta like it. Symbiote Spider-Man Alien Reality. I didn't get a chance to read that one. Dark Multiverse Teen Titans, the Judas Contract. This one I picked up last minute because I didn't even have it on my pull list, and I was like, "Oh, I better grab this. I can read it for the show," and I didn't even read it. Lucy Claire Redemption. Looks like maybe she's like a werewolf hunter, and then Batman's Grave #3. So that's it for my books of the week, Joe. What do you got for your lightning round?
All right, books that I read this week. Strike Force. This ended up in my pull list. I may have forgot to tell my LCS to stop putting it in there, but basically they're in one of Dr. Doom's kind of stash away houses with their little alien friend who's knocked unconscious. And then they all start kind of having these memories about this particular race of shapeshifters. Come to find out, it's all fake. And we also get a great 3-page story on how Spider-Woman is a single mom, because God knows we can't get enough of that.
The single mom?
yeah. Anything she's in, that's what you hear about. Ghost Rider #3. I'm liking this. We're playing off of themes of hell and redemption. In this particular one, we get the you always want what you end up giving away, and in this, what is his name? Danny Catcher? Yeah, half brother. Yeah, he loses the Ghost Rider, and he's always whining and complaining that he doesn't want it. He didn't ask for it. Blah blah blah. So he has it taken away. Well, guess what he needs now?
And we're not talking about Robbie Reyes either. We're talking about Danny Ketch.
Yeah.
So, because Robbie Reyes usually is the whiny Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he's the whiny one too. Well, come to find out, Danny Ketch, he needs the Ghost Rider back to defeat Johnny Blaze, because Johnny Blaze is supposedly losing his mind as he's rounding up these different demons. Also, while the chief's away, the cats will play. He's out of hell, and now some mysterious group of women who have been in comic books before, way back in the day. I can't remember the little gang that they call themselves, but anyway, they basically taken over hell and sent a bunch of the demons back into Earth. So it's legitimately like ×3 now. So what happens in this? What's going to happen? I don't know. I'm going to keep reading this. I kind of like it. Moving on to DC. Detective Comics #1017. We learn a great moral lesson in here, that yes, you have responsibilities as a superhero, but do not forget your ultimate ego or your ultimate yeah, well, I'm going to go psychological with it. Your ultimate ego, which is Bruce Wayne in this, who has responsibilities to an orphanage. One of the kids escapes from the orphanage and dies in the cold to run away. Come to find out, the orphanage kind of takes a child off the books and sells it. And this is Bruce Wayne's orphanage. It's his responsibility, so he has to make it right. Very touching story, very sad story in this. Damian's in it too. So yeah, this is a tearjerker right here for the week. Definitely a stash.
Didn't they do that in that last Batman movie too, when the orphanage was underfunded and they were kicking kids out on the street? Essentially, they worked for Bane.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to Superman, number 18. You're not going to believe what happened in this. Oh my God. Superman reveals himself as Clark Kent. I'll wait. Yeah, the reader already knew that. Right? So did most people. So did most of the people that knew, like everybody in Hall of Justice knew. So why is this a big deal? I don't know. I guess we got to wait till 19 to find out. That's it.
They didn't explain why it was a big deal. I know they really emphasized that book that
they tried this big thing where they were trying to. He was talking to himself, and he's talking to Adam Strange too to try to make sense of the whole thing. And he's like, I feel like I'm living this lie when I don't have to anymore. Back when I was younger and first starting and studying humans, yes, it became a integral part of me integrating with people, but now I just don't see that anymore. And you can't use the trope of, well, it protects all the people he loves because they're always in trouble anyway.
Your definition or what you're explaining it sound like he's coming out of the closet.
Yeah, right. It was weird. So yeah, I don't know. Stupid. Going on to Independence. Something is killing the children. I like the pacing of this story. It's super slow, and it keeps you wanting more. Like they make the most of every single opportunity it can in it by over-explaining it. Well, not over-explaining it, but kind of enjoying playing with it. But it doesn't give you too much to shorten up the story. In this particular issue, we're starting to find out more about her little stuffed animal thing, why it talks and things like that. I would be picking this up. I think this is going to be something in the future, if I had to make a speculation. Books I have not had a chance to read yet. Is that all my comic books? Yeah. Okay. Red Mother. I've been tied up, been kind of busy. Went dress shopping with the wife today. Undiscovered Country. I got about halfway through it before the show. We literally went live. And then my favorite story of the year so far, arc, I should say, is Reaver. And this is number 6 in this. I expect good things out of this too. This has just been an absolute fun read. And going to the chat real quick, a lot of things happened. Apparently, Gore. Nope, I already read that one. Okay, so Gore says Dollhouse surprised him. He thought it was very good. It reminds him of early Vertigo stories in the late 80s, like Sandman. And yet, you read Dollhouse, didn't you?
Yeah.
I passed on that one. Now I'm kind of regretting it. Caffeinated Comics, because that's never happened before. He's talking about the big reveal of Superman. Yeah. And then he goes, damn it, Bendis. Like, Kong. I could see like him doing that. Go, Kong.
So did the Clark Kent just take his glasses off and they go, oh, Superman?
So no, he just like makes the announcement. There was one funny scene where he's on a rooftop with Jimmy Olsen. He's telling the people that he knows, like he tells Perry White, and Perry White gives him a hug. Like he's surprised, right? And then he's like telling Jimmy, and he's like, I've always trusted you as a friend. I felt so bad about this. So he puts on his glasses and he goes, I want you to take the first picture. And he goes, take a picture of what? Superman wearing glasses? That's kind of stupid. And he's like, no, I'm Clark Kent. And he goes, no, get out of here. Really? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, he stops for a second. He goes, you already knew. And he was like, yeah, I already knew. And he goes, how'd you know? Lois called me earlier today. I was like, that's pretty good baiting there.
It reminds me of like your friend who does come out of the closet. You're like, yeah, we've known for a while. I don't know why you've been hiding it.
Short story. So I moved when I retired from the Army. I moved back to my hometown, my zip code, the same zip code I graduated from. we moved back here, and there was a friend of ours that went to school, and he was a little light, right? We're just going to put it that way. Now, I've known he went to ring dance, prom, had a date, yada yada yada, but he wasn't like the rest of us. He was obviously different. We never said anything. He still hung out with us. None of us cared. So we're all sitting down, and we invited him over. Me and some friends. I wanted to bring them all over to the American Legion. Cheap beer. We could sit around and talk. Games on. We could have snacks. We sit around, and he sits down. And he kind of looks over at us, and he goes, "Guys, I just need to tell you all something." And we're like, "What?" He's like, "Well, I'm gay." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. You're a male stewardess." Like, we know. Like, we knew in high school, man. What are you talking about? And he's like, "Why didn't y'all say anything?" And I was like, "Say what? We knew. We don't care."
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But before we do, we'll take a minute to thank all of their Patreons that do support us over there. I got Stephen Ronda, Bob Worrell, Pocan, Joe, Discovery Bay, Caffeinate, Geeks, Comics Misexplained. So that's the 1, 2, 3, 6 people who are the ones that entered into that contest for these kind of books here, the Greg Horn or the Shannon Mayer kind of book. So you got a pretty good chance of actually winning a decent book. So definitely go check us out on Patreon. I think I put a link below. If not, I will put one below. If you don't want a Patreon, you want to support your love for Blasted or Stash, you can go buy one of these cool T-shirts, walk around the mall, and people go, "Hey, who's that?" And you can explain all about how cool we are and how we talk about comic books, right? And then go get the Thunderlust shirt.
The Thunderlust one. The Thunderlust one is the
Thunderlust one. So again, too, if you can't afford to support us financially, we definitely appreciate any likes, any thumbs up, all that good stuff. Go check us out on Facebook, Patreon, Twitter, and Instagram. I've been posting some. I ran into a guy at the comic store the other day. I talked for about an hour and a half. And we're talking about old comics. He's an old comic collector. He's the big book. He buys the big boy books, where I buy the low grade books are the same thing. He's really high grade stuff. We talked comics for a good hour. Talk about some of the books I have signed. So I've been posting up some of those books on Instagram, my 129 and my stuff like that. So definitely go check us out on Instagram too. With that, whether you blasted or whether session, happy reading. Oh, you got some announcements, Joe.
Hey,
sorry,
co-host here. I like to have my words.
I'm sorry, I almost cut you off again.
Hey guys,
I'm going to make a note right here. Don't cut off Joe.
Hey guys, thanks for swinging by. It's getting close to the holiday season. If you kind of want to drop some hints with your loved ones about some of the comic books that you may want, I just posted a link to my auction site that is currently running right now till December the 17th. Super cheap books in there. Safe, secure website. And the shipping is up to you. The shipper will actually call you and ask you exactly how you want this shipped to you. So definitely take a check that out. A lot of good stuff in there that I've collected over the year, just as I clean out the boxes and stuff like that. Other than that, hey guys, we appreciate having you here. It's always a pleasure. Don't forget to hit the like button or the down button. I mean, if we made you mad. We made you mad. It happens. But love having you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, one other thing too I wanted to bring up too, we are going to have an auction. We're looking at doing it on the 4th of January because we are planning on going to Emerald City Comic Con, so we're maybe looking to sell some books, try to help fund that trip. So make sure you're watching Facebook and Twitter and all those where we're going to be posting about that auction, and we're going to get that information out as soon as possible, as well as I think this is our 4th annual Stashies coming up. In January, we used to do a show. We have categories. We talk about our favorite books, our least favorite books, our favorite artist, our favorite writer, and it's always a great time to sit there and kind of reflect over the past year and what really brought what are those books that really made us love comics, or really hate them. One of the two, Bendis. So make sure you can check it out and watch us on social media for that. Okay, are we done? Can I close it now?
It's your show. You do what you want.
Whatever. Well, you blasted with the happy reading for the second time. Take it easy, guys.
Bye.
Bye.